Hello? Anybody in? They should be in at this time. It is just before lunchtime after all. I made certain the servants fixed every clock in the palace so I would not be late. Oh, bookkeep! Where are you? It is not very appropriate to keep a princess waiting, especially when she came all this way to see you. Please show yourself at once. Is that any way to present yourself to a princess? Just appearing from behind the counter like that. And with all these books just, well, everywhere. For all I know, you could have been a marauding bandit hiding to kidnap me and hold my family to ransom. We are incredibly rich, as I'm sure you're aware of. We have many enemies, all of them with no class, of course. Despite your surprising emergence, it is a relief to see that you are currently open. It's a delight to see your face. Had I have not been able to enter, I would have had my guards fetch the palace's personal locksmith, and I would have had them model a replica key at once. I was afraid something unpleasant may have occurred. Or far worse, that you might have injured yourself in that cramped little attic homestead above the shop, in which you reside. Had fears like that been founded, I would have had no choice but to break the door down and escort you to the medicinal wing of the palace. Without haste, where I would play nurse until you recovered. Well, I would not have personally broken in. That is not the actions of a princess after all. But I assume you get the overall picture that I was conjuring? Now then, on some more current affairs. How have you been since our last face-to-face meeting? You've been keeping well? That is wonderful to hear. I could not sit on one's hand and do nothing if something had upset you since we last spoke. But it is a relief that no effort is needed in putting a smile on your adorable face. I have been receiving your letters with great anticipation. That goose feather quill I had crafted for you seems to have certainly been put to excellent use. One can only hope that letters to me have been the only use it's seen. Well, I do not mind the occasional signing for book shipments, of course. And as the topic of books comes to the forefront of our conversation, I would gladly love to return this book to you. I found it incredibly informative, I must say. I checked it out with your recommendation, of course, as you regaled me with your precious little story of building your own telescope to watch those little planets from your roof. So I decided to educate myself about a hobby that clearly captivated you. Once again, however, I would like to extend the prestigious invitation to join me in the Research and Development Tower of the Palace, where we have conveniently recently invested in the creation of the most precise and advanced telescope this side of anywhere. Of course, by myself, I would find the thing laborious, frustrating, and boring. But a little bird informed me that you are an expert with such things. So by putting two and two together, I think we could spend an enchanting evening looking at the universe together. You can entertain me with the history behind each little cosmic speck we find, and I can occupy my evening being tutored by my favorite person in the entire village. Holding hands is, of course, mandatory. You must be present here next week? For the entirety of next week? Why? Because of renovations. Can you not simply pay someone out there a few silver pennies to make sure no one steals anything? Or better yet, leave the plaster as a key of some sorts to let themselves in. Stargazing with the princess of the very ground you walk on is not an opportunity to be missed. Many in this village would pay hand over fist just to walk around the palace gardens with me, you know? Excuse me? What if I were to visit the shop early next week and help you prepare for the renovations? Do you not understand how insulting it is for you to ask a princess to assist in manual labor? What if paint gets onto one of my gowns? Or I break one of the buckles of my shoes by slipping between an old floorboard? If one was to assist you in work, it would simply be you and I, without the interruption of any customers at any moment. For example, that lady I saw exit your shop as I left, an event I meant to scold you for, but was otherwise distracted by her little disappearing act earlier. Very well. I shall accept this work that you speak of, on the condition that it allows me to spend several days inhabiting the shop with you and you alone. Of course, there will have to be a few changes that I insist upon making around here if I am to spend a few days living here instead of the palace. For starters, I will insist upon my private Valkyrie guard stationed at each of the doors and the windows. Hush. They are the fiercest warriors at any disposal, and therefore perfectly capable of keeping us together. I said, keeping any hooligans out. Furthermore, I decree it that you and I must spend at least 2 hours every day taking idle breaks. Work will be exhausting for me, no doubt, and I cannot hand brew you the most exquisite tea if I'm constantly having to heave around a tub of gloopy plaster. And finally, I must be allowed to gracefully fall off of any ladder scattered around the shop, to which the only reaction I expect from you is to rush to my aid and catch me before I hit the ground. You agree to all my conditions? Splendid. With that all being said and set in stone, I will return to the palace and begin packing for next week. It will be a grand opportunity to give this place a proper royal makeover. And perhaps give one to you too, my scruffy little bookworm. Well then, I think there is only one more matter I need to attend to. The Home Improvement Handbook. I would like to check this book out until next week, Bookkeep. Super, thank you. You ask why I would be taking such a book out? No particular reason. I just have a project in the upcoming days that I would like to give all my attention to. And that will be all. Now, if you will let a princess's guard see her out. Silly me. I almost forgot to give you the present I'd been stashing in my velvet satchel. This is for you. It's a home, or rather, palace-cooked set of packed lunches. It should keep you all fed until I arrive next week. I do not want you living off of the commoner's sawdust scraps after all. That's the least I can do. Look, there's some veal, freshly caught just yesterday, and some sour bread too. There are some grapes, the finest cheeses, a few slices of sugared pound cake, and even a couple of my very own sugar almonds that Mother brought back from her diplomatic excursions. No, you rude toad. It was all prepared by me especially, just for you. Alright, I should be on my way out now. I guess work might not be too bad after all. Just a little bit, of course.